Hey everybody. I just wanted to do a book review. I'm talking about the book series, going by the first title of the first book called My Teacher is an Alien. There are My Teacher is an Alien, My Teacher Fried My Brains, My Teacher Glows in the Dark, and My Teacher Flunked the Planet. I just listed those in chronological order. These books are good for anybody from the age of 10 above. In my opinion, and you can go all the way to however old you are. I think they're good because mainly they were published in 1989, but they're only about 30 years old, and they're still pretty relevant. Most of what happens in these books, I think, folks today can still relate to in a lot of ways. It's a story about some kids who their sixth grade teacher mysteriously goes missing. They're told that she just retired or something for some reason. Excuse me. Oh. And they have a new substitute teacher named John Smith. For those who don't know, you may have heard the name John Doe to refer to sort of a generic name for somebody you don't know who it is, or some mystery man or something like that, or Jane Doe for a mystery woman. John Smith might be one of the slightly more dated versions of that. So they had this. He's a middle-aged or younger looking, blonde-haired, blue-eyed substitute teacher who the girls initially think is good-looking, but he is dry, bland, only uses workbooks to teach English, and only corrects papers by putting grade letters and misspelled words on writing assignments, where their teacher, Miss Schwartz, was having them read novels of all kinds that were written by authors from history and all over the world, and they would discuss the books. And when they wrote papers where they expressed their thoughts, not only would she correct their spelling, she would also tell them whether or not she thought their thoughts were they're making good points, or she would make notes and things on their papers to show that she was really paying attention to what she was reading. And so the students really felt heard, and they felt nurtured, and they really liked her. And John Smith seems to be the cold opposite of all these things, although he seems to be ferreted by their principal, Dr. Bleakman. If I forgot to mention the author, it's Bruce Coville. The ironic thing, they find out that Susan finds out after writing a nasty note to her friend that she was going to pass. This is the time before cell phones and texting and that kind of thing. So she was writing a note, and she hid it under her test that they were taking, and Mr. Smith collected it along with her test. She goes and sneaks behind him home to get the note back before he should see it while grading their papers. Sneaks into his house and sees him peeling off his face, and it turns out that he is an alien from another planet, and he's using his vanity as a communication device to talk to the mothership. And later on, she and her friend Peter Thompson, who's the class nerd who reads lots of science fiction, who she believes would be the best person to ask to help her deal with this, they find Miss Schwartz has been trapped in a force field, which is it has frozen time for her. She's just stuck in this force field, and they can communicate to her through telepathy. They sneak into the alien's house a few more times and talk to Miss Schwartz a few more times, and figure out what they're going to do to deal with Broxholm, the alien, posing as John Smith, the substitute teacher. To give you a little bit more plot of the first book, Mr. Smith's / Broxholm's job is to bring back 5 kids to the alien ship for study. One of them being one of the smart kids, like Peter Thompson. 3 of them being more on the average size, and one of them being maybe more on the dysfunctional, doesn't do their work, doesn't do well in school side, like for example the class bully Duncan Dougal. And as the books progress, they kind of focus on each character, like the first 3 books. The first book is really Susan's story, and her dealing with Broxholm. The second one is Duncan's story. He has some interesting twists in that story. and then the third book being Peter's point of view, and then the fourth book being the one that kind of wraps everything up in the story, where the kids and are anyway. To give you a little bit glimpse into the last book, is the aliens are, the aliens in this fantasy world, the aliens have all grown past the needs for war and greed and all that stuff, and they figured out that's just bad stuff, and they don't do it anymore, and they're wondering why humanity still does, and they're trying to figure out what to do with us. Some of them want to invade us and take over and put us, keep us in check, make sure we don't get out of hand. Some of them just want to watch and see what happens with us and see whether or not we figure out how to be better. And there are even a group of them who think the best solution is to just eliminate us altogether. But the books, I mean, they don't lean towards wanting to eliminate us. They lean towards wanting to do something that would result in a peaceful exchange. But they're just worried that it just how possible that is. They want to be cautious about it. So anyway, and there's a lot of stuff that happens in between in the second and third book. So it's a good book series. It's neat to hear how it's neat how the first three books focus on each kid. The major ones being Susan in the first one, Peter Thompson in the second, and Duncan Dougal in the second, and Peter Thompson in the third. So I think it's a really good series. It's not like so science fiction heavy that's just crazy. It's really more focused on getting the story across, so it's good for that. This should totally have been made a movie. They should have made movies of this years ago. It's surprising that they haven't. I don't know if Bruce Coville has objected to the idea or what it is that has prevented this from becoming a movie franchise, but anyway, maybe this recording will help get that going. So anyway, definitely a good book series to read, and of course the freedom of imagination can be as good or better than a movie sometimes, so do yourself a favor and check out this book series.